And so I want to tell you about a client that I was working with, Emily, who struggled to communicate what she was going through, but was coping through watching anime. So this was a few years ago. I was working with this young girl. We'll call her Emily. Of course, that's not her real name. Emily's parents brought her in because Emily was struggling with severe social avoidance, depression, and emotional shutdown, and was showing signs of behavioral regression. When Emily and her sister were small children, they were raised in foster care system. They were separated for a while and then reunited, and then they were adopted by loving parents. And even though they were now in a stable household, the trauma of being separated when they were little stayed with them. And so when Emily was brought in to see me, her older sister had been recently sent to a residential treatment facility for her mental health disorder. And so Emily was now once again separated from her sister. And although her parents understood why Emily was distressed, they couldn't understand why she was coping the way that she was. So she was playing with certain trucks that she hadn't played with since she was very little. And she was repeatedly watching anime on her phone in her room. When I asked my client's parents what anime Emily was watching, they weren't sure. So I asked Emily, I said, "What anime do you watch on your phone?" So she told me that she really likes to watch this anime called Demon Slayer. Back then, I knew absolutely nothing about this anime. I'd never heard of it. Since then, I've watched all of it. I'm now caught up to date. I watch the new episodes every Sunday now. I have the t-shirt, I read a lot of the manga. I haven't finished it yet. But my point is, I didn't know about it then. I learned about it through Emily. I love the show now. It's on Netflix and I think Hulu also. Anyway, so the first three sessions, we spent just talking about the show. And the reason why is because if I would ask Emily about her symptoms, if I would ask her about her sister, if I would ask her about what she was going through, she would shrug. And I imagine many of you have seen teens or clients of all ages, right? Shrug, right? You might ask them, how are you? They might shrug. What's been going on this week? They shrug. So I said, okay, tell me about Demon Slayer. I want to learn about it. So she said the Demon Slayer is about these two characters, a brother and sister. So Tanjiro, the boy here on the left, and his sister Nezuko. Their entire family was killed by an evil demon. That same demon also bit Nezuko, which is why she's wearing this bamboo muzzle, because she's in the process of turning into a demon. And so to protect her, her brother becomes the demon slayer to kill all the demons, to make sure that nobody else loses family members the way that he and Nezuko did, and also to try to find a cure for his sister. No matter what, he never gives up on her. So we spent 3 sessions just talking about the show. She pulled up different clips on YouTube to show me who the characters were, to show me some important scenes. And so after 3 sessions, it was pretty clear what she liked about the show and who the characters were and what was happening. So I said, it occurs to me that you really resonate with the show, with these characters. So who's the character you relate to the most? And she said, Tanjiro, the brother. And I said, so Tanjiro became a demon slayer in real life, IRL, and because of that, he was able to help his sister and become this kind of warrior that he was. And so if you were to become a kind of a demon slayer in real life to help your sister, what would that look like? How would you help? And Emily wasn't sure. She said, I don't know how I can help her because I can't call her. And it turned out that because her sister was in a residential facility, there was no electronic communication that was allowed. So they weren't allowed to call each other or FaceTime or text, but they were allowed to send handwritten letters. And it turned out that Emily's sister had written her 3 letters, but Emily was too overwhelmed to read them. She was scared that she would be too sad to read them. And I said, well, what do you think Tanjiro would do in this situation? Or what would he tell you to do in this situation? And Emily thought about it and she said, I think Tanjiro would tell me to read the letters. I think he would tell me that this is a way that I can be a demon slayer, that this is how I can support my sister when she's far away. And I said, is this what you're willing to do? And she said, yes. So in the next session, she brought in the letters and we read them together. And she was right. They did make her sad, but they also reminded her of some of the wonderful times that she had with her sister and gave her a lot to look forward to. And so in our session, she wrote a response to her sister and mailed it out. And then they started writing back and forth. So over the next few months, she started making certain changes. She started having weekly game nights with her parents. She started writing to her sister at least monthly. And then she started watching this show, Demon Slayer, with her parents. So they would watch an episode or two together, and then they would talk as a family about the characters and about what the characters meant to Emily. And when we were finishing our work together, this is what Emily said to me. She said, you know, when my dog died, I didn't cry. And when my aunt died, I didn't cry. But when someone dies in anime, it's like a balloon that explodes all of a sudden, and then you just cry. It's like all the tears I've been holding back that entire time finally explode. Now, that made a lot of sense to me. And I think for so many of us, when we're wearing our I'm fine masks, we hold back our tears, we hold back who we truly are and how much we're suffering. But when we see a window, a representation of what we're going through, even if that representation is fictional, it makes it easier for us to be true to ourselves, to be able to see ourselves, and to be able to understand what we're going through. And essentially, finding a representation of what we're going through creates a sense of common humanity, this understanding that our experiences are common and human and that we're not alone. It takes the stigma out of our experience and promotes hope and meaning making. And I love this quote by self-compassion researcher Kristen Neff. She says, it's not that misery loves company, it's that company is the antidote to misery. And so for many people, they're finding that when they're feeling lonely or rejected, they're likely to rewatch episodes of their favorite shows rather than whatever's on TV. It seems that rewatching certain shows makes people feel significantly less lonely. And in fact, writing about a beloved TV show character makes people feel significantly less lonely than writing about an academic achievement. What this suggests is that it's not a self-esteem boost that we need. What we need is connection. And sometimes we find that connection when we are rewatching episodes of our favorite shows, when we're finding that sense of connection and familiarity. For many people, these one-sided connections that they form with fictional characters are essentially creating social surrogates. In research, these are called parasocial relationships, these one-sided relationships that people form, where individuals have essentially a surrogate friend, a surrogate family member, or a surrogate support group within a fictional universe, right, where they feel maybe supported or understood by a fictional character, or the person might understand a fictional character from their perspective, and therefore feeling significantly less alone.